This is an art collage novel video. I made this series so you guys can experience the story faster. The video will focus on the character's psychology, the images are for illustration purposes only. Yunxiao sucked in a cold breath, and his eyes flickered as if he could see the smug smile on the corner of Yu Xingfeng's mouth. Your sister. You actually used me as a sparring partner. Yunxiao roared angrily as a feeling of being fooled welled up in his heart. He opened the immemorial heavenly eye between his brows, and the little Vajra gourd flew out, transforming into an 80 feet tall Vajra and throwing out a Vajra fist. Tiny black vortexes spun under the fist wind of gourd little King Kong, making an ear-piercing zzz sound. Bang bang. The power of Yu Xingfeng's move was extremely strong, far above gourd little King Kong fist. It directly drowned gourd little King Kong's fist wind, and the huge force light completely swallowed gourd little King Kong. Yu Xingfeng sneered. His figure also followed and rushed into the light. He threw another punch, wanting to destroy the puppet in front of him. In the process of fighting with Yunxiao, he was pleasantly surprised to find that his compatibility with the body was getting stronger and stronger. So, the more he fought, the happier he became, and the braver he became. Bang! Yu Xingfeng's fist landed directly on the body of gourd little King Kong, making a metal sound. A very painful feeling went into the brain, and the bones of his fist were almost cracked. What is this thing made of? Yu Xingfeng was shocked. He immediately understood that the puppet in front of him was made of top-grade 9th-tier materials. It was impossible to destroy it with his own body. The gourd little King Kong was forced back a few steps by the punch. With a look of anger on his face, he launched another punch. At that moment, the dark thunder was released by Yunxiao again. Stepping on golden lightning, it swooped down and spat out a bolt of lightning. Yunxiao knew that he would not stop until he completely repelled his opponent. So, he immediately transformed into 3 heads and 6 arms again, each holding a weapon. A gust of wind and firepower was also shot out, turning into a crocodile under his feet. However, the shape of the crocodile seemed to have changed. The original red dorsal fins and fire patterns on its body seemed to have faded a lot, with some white mixed in. Yunxiao frowned, but he was overjoyed in his heart. The Phoenix Divine Flame had indeed evolved by devouring part of the ice flame, but he could not sense its existence. However, the crocodile could summon the power of the Divine Flame. This might be the natural affinity of elemental power. This time, apart from summoning the martial emperor powerhouses from the Divine Realm tablet, he was basically in his best condition. Unless he was confident that he could kill the other party, he would never reveal the secret of the Divine Realm tablet, which was even more fatal than leaking the divine formula. Under the combined attack of the gourd little King Kong and the dark thunder, Yu Xingfeng teleported away, causing the 2 forces to miss. He looked at Yunxiao coldly, then his eyes fell on the crocodile as he said slowly, "These should be your strongest state and all your trump cards, right?" "Yes, or no," Yunxiao said coldly, "you'll only know after you try. You dare to play me like a monkey, you're really bold." Yu Xingfeng's sword-like brows raised in surprise. His tone revealed extreme disdain as he indifferently said, "I was discovered by you, but isn't it normal for me to play with you with my strength? I really liked the warm-up matches before, and I wanted to exchange 1,000 moves with you. But I'm very busy," Yunxiao said coldly. "I don't have time to play with you." "Oh?" Yu Xingfeng laughed and said, "You want to get serious? As a 9th-tier alchemist, you should know that without the power of Emperor Qi of a high-level martial sovereign, it's impossible to suppress my teleportation. I was destined to never lose this battle from the very beginning." "You're too confident," Yunxiao sneered. "I hope you can still laugh later." With a thought, the gourd little King Kong immediately moved forward. The dark thunder also spat out golden lightning from its mouth and struck down from the sky. Yu Xingfeng looked at the incoming fist with a mocking expression. Could it be that people with the will of the heavens are this stupid? Just as he was about to teleport away, he suddenly saw Yunxiao's lips curl up slightly, and his eyes turned into blood-red crescent moons, looking extremely strange. What? A spiritual attack? Yu Xingfeng was stunned for a moment. Although the other party also had 9th rank soul power, he was still far from being comparable to him. He was about to mock the other party for showing off his skills in front of an expert and overestimating his own strength when he suddenly discovered that the space around him had been locked. It was like an iron wall that couldn't be broken. Not only that, but the entire sky had turned blood red. It was abnormally demonic. The sun that shone in the sky had turned into a huge eye that was looking at him coldly. An illusion? I fell for an illusion? Yu Shengfeng was shocked. The shock in his heart was indescribable, and he shouted, "Junior, don't underestimate me." He made a hand seal, and an invisible mental wave spread out from his body. There was a faint mist on his skin. Bang! The strange phenomenon created by the moon pupil was instantly broken, but the gourd little King Kong's fist was already in front of him, and the golden lightning also poured down. Yu Xingfeng's hands formed a seal in front of him to meet the fist. 3 heads and 6 arms also appeared behind him. One of his arms formed a finger seal and raised high. A white flame condensed at the tip of his finger and shot out, swallowing the golden lightning. Pa! At the same time, the gourd little King Kong's fist wind had already fallen into his palms, shaking the entire sky. Yunxiao gave the crocodile a kick, and it immediately turned into a wheel of wind and fire, rolling over in the air. The terrifying power of elements spread out, crushing the entire sky. Yu Xingfeng's expression changed greatly as he shouted, "Brush strokes." He held a red brush in one of his arms and drew a few times in the air. With every stroke of the brush, a martial artist would appear. Immediately, thousands of soldiers and horses appeared and rushed toward the firestorm wheels with murderous intent. Yunxiao's body trembled, and his face was filled with horror. He recognized the red brush as well. It was a legendary item refined by a peerless alchemist named Ma Liang, who could turn stone into gold and turn something rotten into something magical. This red brush was also called Ma Liang Divine Brush. Back then, Yu Shengfeng was in charge of the Sea of Soul formation and led all the alchemists in the world, so he definitely had more treasures than Yunxiao did. For the first time, Yunxiao felt that he had become a country bumpkin from a rich man. He gritted his teeth, raised the mirror of evening clouds, and shone it at the sky. The thousands of soldiers and horses slowed down under the mirror light. The wind and fire wheels rolled directly under the countless experts. Suddenly, screams were heard. The scene was like a real battlefield, but there was no blood. Instead, the dead martial artists instantly turned into red ink and dissipated in the air. Yu Shengfeng drew in the air again, and a giant door appeared in front of him, blocking the wind-fire wheel. Boom boom boom. The giant door was being shaken by the firestorm wheels, and it seemed like it couldn't withstand more than a few hits. Yu Xingfeng's expression changed. At this moment, he was still holding the gourd little King Kong with both hands. He continuously sent out a few seals on the gourd little King Kong's body, then grabbed his arm and threw him out. A hand stretched out from the Dharma form behind him, dragging a green underworld wheel with a strange pattern carved on it. It was daunting, and Maha ancient characters were constantly spreading from it. The Shanming wheel let out countless sharp howls, and a huge green wheel shadow flashed in the sky. Bang! The gourd little King Kong, who had been thrown out, was hit by the Shanming wheel. 9/10 of its neck had been cut in, and only a little bit was left hanging there. Its whole head was hanging back. What? Both Yunxiao and Yu Xingfeng screamed in shock at the same time, their eyes filled with horror, as if they could not believe it. Yu Shengfeng finally realized that the strength of the opponent's profound level weapon was not inferior to his. The power of the Shanming will seem to be able to cut through everything. Even a 9th tier profound level weapon could not block its attack. That gourd little King Kong couldn't even cut off its head. What shocked him even more was that the gourd little King Kong's neck was recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. Memory Origin Gold. There's also the Northern Heaven Frigid Star Iron and the Heavenly Shine Imperial Gold. There are actually 3 items in this puppet. The coldness in Yu Xingfeng's eyes was loud. He gritted his teeth and identified all the materials at once. However, he didn't recognize that the gourd little King Kong was half demon and half tool, and definitely not a puppet. Bang! The door that blocked the windfire wheel was finally blasted open. The windfire power turned into a whirlwind and swept over. At the same time, Yunxiao's body glowed with cold light as he took out 11 Northern Heaven Cold Star swords again. The sword talismans flew into the air, turning the entire sky golden and cracking the sky and earth. Yu Xingfeng's expression was extremely gloomy as he said coldly, "To be able to force me to use 2 top profound level weapons, you are truly a terrifying opponent." It was originally a cat toying with a mouse, but unexpectedly, it began to fall into a bitter battle. The Shanming wheel in his hand suddenly moved. A green light flashed in the air and immediately shattered the sword talisman in the air. With a bang, thousands of sword lights burst out. Ma Liang's divine brush pointed in the air, and a silver river appeared, crossing the vast sky and flowing towards the firestorm wheels. Boom! When the firestorm wheels came into contact with the power of the silver river, they were immediately stopped and unable to move forward. They immediately transformed into their crocodile true form, becoming a monster with a crocodile head that was 8 zhang tall. They pushed the silver river with all their might with both hands and roared towards the sky. Yu Xingfeng snorted coldly, and then he raised his dark wheel again. A green light flashed, and Yunxiao's face was filled with horror as the danger of death emerged in his heart. The terrifying thing about the Shanming wheel was not only that it could slash through anything, but the speed of its attack was even more terrifying. It seemed to have teleported. If one could not catch it in advance, it was impossible to receive it at the last minute. At this critical moment, the arm that was holding the Divine Realm tablet behind him blocked. The Divine Realm tablet instantly appeared in front of Yunxiao, and the power of the world transformed into something that could swallow everything. Bang! The power of the world that had just evolved from the steel was also cut open by the Shanming wheel's green light, and a huge force knocked Yunxiao back in the air, while his arm went completely numb. Yu Xingfeng's expression changed drastically. The Shanming wheel, which had always killed the enemy in one move, had attacked twice today, but both times had failed. This gave him a preposterous feeling, as if this was not real. Yunxiao was even more shocked than Yu Xingfeng. Not only had the light disappeared from the Divine Realm tablet in his hand, but there was also a shallow mark on it. The Divine Realm tablet was actually injured? Cold sweat broke out on his forehead, and he felt cold all over. If such a heaven-defying profound level weapon were to strike him again, how would he be able to withstand it? Yu Xingfeng also felt bitter in his heart. The power required to activate the Shanming wheel was too great, and it had already been activated 3 times. With his current physical condition, he might be able to forcibly activate it twice, but Yunxiao's profound level weapon was safe and sound under his slash. One must note that the gourd Little King Kong, which was a mixture of Heavenly Shine K metal and Northern Heaven Cold Star metal, was almost beheaded. This caused Yu Xingfeng to feel uneasy, and he didn't dare to rashly activate his underworld wheel. Boom boom boom. Just as the two of them were still wary of each other, the crocodile directly broke the silver river. The silver light that filled the sky disappeared, leaving only a little bit of red ink. The crocodile monster roared a few times and stared at Yu Xingfeng, but it didn't rashly charge forward. None of the 3 monsters surrounding Yu Xingfeng were normal. The Dark Thunder had advanced all the way to the 9th rank after several incredible mutations. There was no need to mention the gourd Little King Kong and the crocodile monster. There was no second one like these 3 monsters in the entire heavenly martial realm. With a solemn look on his face, Yu Xingfeng sized up the 3 monsters and then turned his eyes to Yunxiao. In his eyes, Yunxiao was the biggest monster. Walala. Suddenly, the sound of chains clashing came from the air. Yu Xingfeng made a hand seal, and a faint black gas appeared around his body. A chain shuttled out from it, circling from bottom to top like a nebula. Yunxiao's pupils constricted. This chain was the Fiend Essence lock that he had used to lock Di Jia in the Dragonized Pool, and it was what he had been looking for. The Devil Essence chain twisted in the air like a long snake, and one end landed on Yu Xingfeng's palm. A cold expression flashed across his face, and he changed his hand seals. The chain instantly spread out, covering a radius of 100 meters. The Keyhole Nebula. Break! Yu Xingfeng shouted, and the entire sky was filled with clattering sounds. The chains that filled the sky split into two, then two into three, spreading out like a spider web. In the blink of an eye, it formed a strange array and locked Yunxiao inside. My demonic vitality lock can even lock the demonic vitality of a demonic lord, Yu Shengfeng said coldly. Without the support of demonic power, I'd like to see how you're going to use your Dharma true body. He changed his hand gesture, and the array formed by the chains immediately closed up, tying Yunxiao up like a big dumpling. There seemed to be some kind of power in the fiend lock. The fiend energy around Yunxiao receded like a tide, and the black fiend patterns all over his body disappeared one by one. His Dharma true body also returned to normal. Yunxiao's eyes filled with surprise as he stared at the fiend essence lock. In addition to being completely black, there were some white spots scattered in the middle. He did not know what material it was made of, but he could feel a cold and refreshing feeling coming from the part tied to his body. Yu Xingfeng's face was cold as he said, I originally wanted to take you as my disciple, but I've given up on that plan. Hand over the deity tier's spiritual art and I can let you die a quick death. You don't want me to use your soul to refine you, right? Even though you also have a 9th rank soul power, you should clearly understand the difference between you and me. I'd like to know how this fiend lock is made, Yunxiao said. Why can it restrain fiend energy? Master Yu, can you please explain to me? A fierce look shot out of Yu Xingfeng's eyes. The fact that Yunxiao could still look calm in such a state meant that he either had great self-control or had a trump card in his hand. It's easy to know. Let me destroy your martial arts foundation first. Suddenly, a Rui scepter as smooth as water emerged from an arm behind him. It flew out of his hand and turned into a stream of light, shooting toward Yunxiao. Yunxiao's face flickered. At a glance, he could tell that the Rui was also a 9th tier artifact, and usually, such strange-shaped mystic artifacts were extremely extraordinary. He did not dare to be careless, so he suddenly shouted, since Master Shi is not willing to dispel my doubts, then this junior will have to figure it out on his own. Clang. Clang. His body glowed with a golden light, and rays of golden light burst out of his body. His 3 heads and 6 arms appeared again, and the 6 arms directly broke the devil essence lock that bound him. What? Yu Shengfeng was shocked. He didn't understand why the other party could still use 3 heads and 6 arms without the power of devil essence. The golden light on his body seemed to be a legendary supreme body refining technique. Yunxiao clenched the chain with both arms. The 1,000-year blade appeared in one arm, and he poured a ball of energy into it. In the other, he held the tear of the true dragon, which brushed over the blade and activated the corpse puppet's divine sense. A dazzling light rose into the sky and slashed at the Rui with a long whistle. His remaining 2 arms quickly formed hand seals and struck out talismans that were like stars circulating in the sky. The moon pupils in his eyes reappeared, and wherever he looked, the devil essence lock began to slowly move. Yu Shengfeng was shocked, and he immediately understood Yunxiao's idea. He wanted to take his fiend lock, so he cried out in anger, savage. Boom. The giant corpse puppet in the sky rushed toward the Rui scepter, causing a huge shock. The saber radiance immediately disintegrated. The falling momentum of the Rui was blocked, but it was spinning rapidly in the air. A jade light spread out and began to grow bigger and bigger. Yunxiao was shocked. He did not know what kind of treasure the Rui was, but it had only begun to unseal under the most powerful strike of the 1,000 Autumn's tyrannical saber. A strong sense of danger emerged in his heart. At this moment, in the state of the inextinguishable golden body, the demonic dragon had also become one with him, but he was still a little exhausted. Most of his power was used to collect the devil essence lock, and the light in the moon eye became more and more strange. The shock in Yu Xingfeng's heart was no less than Yunxiao's. He was also looking at the Rui that was constantly being unsealed, and he said angrily, "Good boy, you really deserve to die." A ray of white light slowly appeared in his hand, and then it became dazzling. A ray of metallic light appeared, and another abnormal profound level weapon was about to be used. Yunxiao was horrified. The Rui scepter that was constantly unsealing in the sky still made him shudder. If another treasure of the same level appeared, he would be dead for sure. Gourd little King Kong, punch with all your might. The aura of gored little King Kong, who had just repaired his neck, changed. It was as if a strange force had shaken off his arm. Yu Xingfeng's face was full of murderous intent. Suddenly, an extremely ominous feeling welled up in his heart, and he even felt a trace of fear. Paw. The calabash little King Kong clenched his fist, and rings of air exploded around him. The wind from his fist seemed to have a strange color. What's going on? Yu Shengfeng was shocked, and that ominous feeling became more and more intense. He stared at gored little King Kong, somewhat bewildered. The calabash little King Kong finished accumulating power, took a step forward, and then threw a straight punch. A tiny ice flame appeared on the fist wind, like a dazzling white light in the dark night. This is a Pishyo. The ice fiend heart flame. Yu Xingfeng's entire body jumped up as he cried out in fear. He seemed to have seen something extremely terrifying. His face immediately twisted, and his body trembled violently from fear. The ice fiend heart flame. It's actually the ice fiend heart flame. It's impossible. Yu Shengfeng suddenly went crazy at this moment. He suddenly teleported away and appeared on the huge Rui in the next moment. He teleported away again with the Rui. The next moment, a ray of light appeared hundreds of meters away. It was Yu Xingfeng. He turned into a stream of light and fled. This? Yunxiao was suddenly stunned. He did not expect that Shi Xingfeng would run away without fighting, and a strange look appeared on his face. As soon as Yu Shengfeng and the Rui disappeared, all the pressure was lifted, and Yunxiao breathed a heavy sigh of relief in his heart. He poured all his soul power into the lunar pupil, and the shape of the pupil began to change. Walala. The speed of the fiend lock's movement increased, and in just a few breaths, it was completely absorbed into Yunxiao's glabella. Who? He let out a heavy breath. The golden light disappeared completely, and he almost collapsed. Not only him, but even the demonic dragon was also in a state of near exhaustion. It began to fall into a deep sleep. Ice Fiend Heart Flame? This white icy flame is called the Ice Fiend Heart Flame? Yunxiao looked at the gored little King Kong, who was still motionless in the air after the punch, and said to himself, it seems that Yu Xingfeng knows a lot about the Ice Fiend Heart Flame. No wonder he was once the master of the Sea of Soul formation. Although this thing is terrifying, there are too few of them. He only scared it away. I have to leave quickly. If he calms down and comes back, I'll really be dead. This flame was produced by Xiao Hong's body, which was the fusion of the two neon stones, and Yu Yixian's body had the existence of neon stones. It seemed that there was some connection between the two. What is the rainbow stone? Yunxiao's heart was filled with great questions. This thing that he had never heard of seemed to contain great energy. Not only Yu Xingfeng, but Yu Yixian and the previous city lord of Red Moon City were also involved in this matter. I'm afraid the Sea of Soul formation is going to fall into a great storm. It may affect the entire realm of heavenly martial arts. Yunxiao looked in the direction in which Yu Shengfeng had fled. If that peak-level soul completely merged with Yu Yixian's body, no one in the world would be able to defeat him. Lord Yunxiao, save me. Just as Yunxiao was about to leave with Thunder Escape, Shuai Junwei's voice suddenly came from the distance. At the moment, his whole body was pitch black, and circles of demonized patterns appeared on his body and face. However, there was fear and struggle in his eyes. A trace of spiritual intelligence was struggling. Du Linling was the same, his eyes showing a pleading look. The rest of them had been completely demonized, and when they saw Yunxiao coming over, their eyes shone with a fierce light.